Picture this. It's 1982 in Milwaukee. A young psychology professor, Dr. William R. Miller, is conducting a series of interviews with clients struggling with alcohol use. What was supposed to be a standard conversation turns into something radical. He notices that when he takes a non-judgmental reflective approach, clients actually talk more about wanting to change. He's not giving advice, he's asking questions, and something in them shifts. This wasn't the tough love era of addiction counseling. This was something different, collaborative, empowering, and deeply effective. These early conversations would spark a movement that became motivational interviewing, co-developed with Stephen Rolnick. 40 years later, MI isn't just a substance use tool, it's everywhere. Therapy, coaching, medicine, social work, education, even parenting. And on today's episode, we will walk you through what MI is, how it shows up on the licensure exam, and how you can use it to help your clients and turn resistance into readiness. Welcome to the Licensure Lifeline, the podcast that supports you on your path to becoming a licensed mental health professional. I'm your host, Matt Lawson, and this is a special episode. This is the 50th episode of Licensure Lifeline. Thank you for everybody that has supported me with this, and I hope that we have 50 more. I have a special episode for you. One of the most popular episodes I've ever done was on motivational interviewing, so I thought I'd revisit it for this 50th episode, given how popular it was and just how applicable it is. I use motivational interviewing pretty much every day in almost all my sessions to some extent. Getting through resistance with individuals and just giving people a place that feels non-judgmental is just a big part of how I work, and motivational interviewing tends to fit the bill most of the time. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody to check us out on Instagram. I also am creating a website for the podcast that I'm really hoping to be up by the end of the month. Also, I want to thank people for sponsoring the show. There is an option to actually give money to the show, which I have absolutely no expectations around this, but it's one of those nice things just to see every once in a while. So I do want to thank the people that have been signing up for those monthly, I don't want to call them donations because it feels better than that, but monthly subscriptions. Also, I wanted to just do a quick note. One of the fan mail questions that I got was about transcribing, and they're specifically pointing out that they are a visual learner, and it's really helpful for them to be able to take what they hear on the podcast and have it in front of them to read it over, to go over. Absolutely, this is something that got me through grad school. I used to make mind maps of my notes, and it would help me just visualize where the information was, which I found extremely helpful. There's so many AI tools out there. I'm almost positive that you can you can copy and paste this episode and put it into something like ChatGPT or some of the other Gemini or some of the large language models, and they're able to create a transcript of the show. I'm almost positive you can do that. I absolutely should have tried it before I mentioned it. But just a suggestion, if you are more of a visual learner and you would like to have the transcript to just go over as part of your learnings. Bonus, if that does work and you are able to download it like that to a large language model, you can actually have it do things like create questions from the episode, more questions from the episode for you to study from. You can have it create a study guide, things like that. Also, there is a tool from Google. It's called Notebook LM. And that is another one where you can upload. I absolutely know you can do this with podcasts because I've done it before in Notebook LM, but you can upload things like podcasts, articles, newspaper clippings, things like that, and it will summarize them. And it does an amazing job. It actually will create a podcast from the information using AI voices, and it's amazing. So if you haven't used Notebook LM just yet, I would take a look at that one as well, and maybe upload this podcast to it. Let me know if it works. Okay, let's check out what is in the news. In a recent article published in Frontiers in Psychology, it explored how artificial intelligence is being trained to replicate the empathy and reflection skills found in motivational interviewing. Researchers are experimenting with AI bots that can deliver MI, motivational interviewing style interventions for smoking cessation, medication, adherence, mental health supports, all the stuff, right? While these bots aren't replacing therapists, the research suggests we may soon be seeing digital tools that assist with stages of change and ambivalence. Definitely something worth working at, checking out. I tend to look at tech news around the mental health world because I really feel like that's going to be one of the next really big things that we're going to start seeing as clinicians is the impact that technology, artificial intelligence, things like that are going to not only have on how we do our work, but the people that we're seeing. I've really gone down the rabbit hole of this generation of chatbots that have been coming out. So organizations like Replica, Character AI, some of these platforms that are out there that are making pretty lifelike um, AI companions for people. We're going to be seeing things like breakups with their AI companion, with a person's AI companion. And how do you deal with that? So, I'm really hoping part of what the news, the in the news portion of this podcast is doing is just getting you thinking, getting you considering, like, hey, you need to keep up with the technology. For the study stack today, specifically looking at how to learn motivational interviewing or just tips on motivational interviewing, try teaching somebody OARS, the acronym that's used to remind people around the open-ended questions that you ask, affirmations, reflection, and summaries that go along with motivational interviewing. So draw each letter on a note card. Write out an example of the question or phrase you'd use with a client. Practice saying it out loud, and quiz yourself with a client scenario. Don't just memorize or try to just memorize. Try to really embody the method and envision how it's going to be using this with somebody. It's going to be extremely helpful that way. Okay, and on to the core content. We are talking motivational interviewing today. Motivational interviewing is a client-centered directive method for enhancing intrinsic motivation to change by exploring and resolving ambivalence. I know that's a mouthful, but the key with this one is pushing past resistance. And doing this in a way that respects autonomy while gently guiding clients toward insight and action. So that whole, in that the scenario that I talked about at the very beginning of the episode, that whole idea of tough love gets thrown out the window with motivational interviewing. The core principles here are to express empathy through reflective listening, develop discrepancies between values and current behaviors, roll with the resistance rather than confronting it, and support self-efficiency and optimism. I talked a little bit about OARS, OARS, that acronym. So you're doing this through these techniques, right? You're asking open-ended questions. What would your life look like if the problem were gone? I'm sure everybody is very familiar with that. Those what if questions, the dream question. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and everything was the way you need it to be? Another technique here are the affirmations, part of the OARS. You show me a lot of strength just showing up today. Really affirming people, what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're trying. I think that's another one that goes along with the affirmations. If somebody comes back to you after, comes back to a session and they implemented something that you asked them to do, that's a perfect place to put in those affirmations. This isn't so much of, you're looking for an A, B, C, and D to do with somebody as much as it just really intertwines with all of the work that you're doing with the individual. The next one, the R here, is reflections. it sounds like part of you wants to change, but another part is scared. Definitely go into parts work in another episode, but you see where I'm going with this, right? Being able to reflect on the things the person's been saying, the person's been doing, really speaking to them with the things that they're bringing up, to get them to think about, yeah, this is something that is in conflict. And not only that, but this person across from me is listening. And then summarizing topics. Summaries are extremely powerful. Um, example, so what I'm hearing is, right? Like we go into that place. And again, showing that you're actively listening to the individual, showing them that you are giving them a space where somebody's actually listening to them is a huge piece of building that relationship with the individual. The other really nice thing with motivational interviewing is it very much so aligns with the trans theoretical model of change. So you have the pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. I always have to put this one into an acronym, PCPAM, just to help me remember it. It's always something that I always get pre-contemplation, contemplation mixed up, and then who knows where preparation goes. But um, however you can memorize this really lines up with motivational interviewing, and it really is a nice way, especially if somebody's coming to you with something like improving their relationship with alcohol, improving their relationship with food. You can really evaluate where they are, with the change in their lives, utilizing both the trans theoretical model along with motivational interviewing. Something I want to talk about before we get into anything else with motivational interviewing is just the spirit behind this technique. One of the nice things with motivational interviewing that just aligns with my practice and the way I work with people is it very much so is a mindset and methodology that promotes partnership. Um, Partnership with the clients and an understanding that they have somebody that is in a relationship, a partnership with them. So, the first part of this idea of a spirit behind motivation interviewing, and you're going to see this with other modalities. There's a spirit to a lot of the different modalities that really refine and define how you work with individuals. And oftentimes, these different modalities will just speak to you, how you are, who you are as an individual, which I think is really neat. So you have the partnership, then that idea of acceptance and just really holding space, that unconditional positive regard with that person-centered approach, and really honoring the person's an autonomy when you're working with them. And then, of course, the compassion piece, empathy, that piece where you're just actively promoting the client's welfare and their well-being. That idea that you have their absolute best interest in mind. And then lastly, evocation, drawing out the client's own reasoning and motivations for change. That's one of the really nice aspects of motivational interviewing that I've just come to really value, is this idea that you're helping the person come around to their change and understanding of what they need to do as a person, and having them come up with their solution, right? Right now, we're going to talk a little bit about sustained talk versus change talk. So this is the place where the person is going from a place of reason, giving their reasons not to change, to a place of growth where they are ready for change. So to help you identify change talk, I of course have an analogy. Darn cat. So desire, ability, reason, and need. So with desire, you might hear something like, I want to fill in the blank. With ability, you might hear something like, I could probably whatever. Next, reason. It would be helpful if, lastly, need. I need to. So these are all examples of change talk, where the person is expressing they're kind of a stage of, oh, readiness to change. Like I'm starting to actually talk about the things that, or in a way that suggest that I want to make some changes to my life. And as part of the conversation, the conversation goes from this change talk to like really doubling down on that. Once you start to hear this change talk, you want to start looking for commitment. So commitment would be like, I will. And again, this is part of the darn cat analogy. So you get commitment, I will, activation, I'm ready to, then actually taking steps. Oh, yesterday I started to, and you'll start to hear them speaking in terms of getting things done or moving forward on the topic that you've been working on them with. That's what you're looking for when it comes to change talk. On the exam and in sessions, you want to listen for these signals. You want to listen for the people talking about change in their lives and commitment in their lives as they're working on these different topics. All right, let's go over some sample questions that you might see on the NCE. First up, which of the following is not a core principle of motivational interviewing? Is it A, expressing empathy, B, confronting denial, C, supporting self-efficacy, or D, developing discrepancy? Answer to this one is going to be B, confronting denial is not a principle of MI. MI doesn't do confrontation, right? So anything that even hints at confronting somebody about a topic, about something they're doing in their lives, it's just not a part of motivational interviewing. Question number 2. The primary goal of motivational interviewing is to A, challenge maladaptive beliefs, B, increase intrinsic motivation, C, identify personality disorders, or D, promote behavioral activation. Answer here is going to be B. The focus is on intrinsic motivation for change. What does the R in OARS stand for? Is it A, reasoning, B, resisting, C, reflection, or D, reframing? Answer here is going to be C. Reflection is a key in in the motivational interviewing empathetic approach. Question number 4. In motivational interviewing, the therapist should A, give clear advice at the beginning, B, tell the client why they should change, C, collaborate and guide, or D, maintain a neutral stance throughout. Answer here is going to be C. I like that one. Collaborate and guide. Last question. Which stage of change is most appropriate for decisional balance techniques? Is it A, pre-contemplation, B, action, C, contemplation, or D, maintenance? Answer here, C, decisional balance is most effective during the contemplative stage. I need to do a whole episode on the trans-theoretical model. It's a really helpful framework to support individuals around change. I use it a lot with addiction. I use it a lot with people changing their relationship with alcohol, with food. I use it a lot with people that are working on healthy lifestyle creation. It's just a great way to frame change in a person's life. All right, how about a practice vignette for the NCMHCE? Presenting concern. I know I should stop smoking, but honestly, I enjoy it. So this is Layla. They've tried to quit smoking twice, but relapsed both times. You see this a lot. Smoking has, if you know a smoker or you smoke yourself, you know how easy it is just to relapse. It is a part of the process. She currently is dealing with work stress and caregiving responsibilities for her mother. So big stressor in Layla's life here. She denies any desire to quit right now, but admits she's tried to many a times and just feels tired. As a therapist, you're going to approach this from the motivational interviewing, aiming to enhance Layla's intrinsic motivation. So, question number one, what would be the therapist's most appropriate next step? Would it be A, provide a list of cessation programs, B, ask Layla why she hasn't been successful, C, reflect on Layla's ambivalence, or D, encourage her to set a quit date? Okay, the answer to this is going to be C, looking at her ambivalence, like looking at why she's not ready to quit right now, and really digging into that. Maybe her reasoning is because she feels like she needs this crutch to just get through this really stressful time in her life. Um, and you're going to hear this a lot from people. They're going to bring up something that they know they want to change in their lives, that they know is not working, that's not aligning with their values, with the person that they are. However, they're going through something that necessitates that habit, that addiction, and they need to stick to it for now, but they'll get to it. And it really is something that you want to dig into with individuals, and not just give them a pass to say, okay, yeah, you're stressed right now. Of course, you need to be able to smoke through this stressful time in your life. Which motivational interviewing technique would help Layla begin considering change? Would it be A, behavioral activation, B, decision balance, C, thought challenging, or D, psychoeducation? Answer to this one is going to be B, decisional balance. What stage of change is Layla most likely in? Is it A, the action stage, B, the contemplation stage, C, pre-contemplation, or D, preparation? Answer here is going to be B. She's in the contemplation stage. Just with that statement around like, yeah, I'm not ready to quit right now. She's contemplating it. She's come to talk about, or part of what she's bringing up in this session is her smoking and not wanting to smoke anymore. She's contemplating it, but maybe she's not quite ready to take the action. All right, folks, that is going to be it for another episode. Thank you for hanging with me again for 50 episodes. This is amazing. I never thought it was going to be this when I started this podcast. It's really wild, but I hope to continue to bring this to you. It really is something I do enjoy. And until next time, keep studying.